Nepali nationals have appealed for their safety as hundreds have died after a surprise attack of Hamas and Israel's response. Hamas has taken hostages while Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has promised to crush the terrorists. Also in this edition of Kantipur News, we have updates about a powerful earthquake in Afghanistan, the fervor in Nepal and the ICC Men's One Day International Cricket World Cup. Good morning, I'm Prarambha Dahal. Let's begin with the main stories. Fair price shops to be operated from today for the Dasai festival. Nepal Rashtra Bank to distribute new notes from the 16th of October for the festivities. Nepali nationals injured in the conflict between Israel and Palestine's Islamist group Hamas appeal for safety. Hundreds, including around a dozen Nepali injured, at least 300 dead. Hundreds were dead and at least 1,000 injured in a 6.3 magnitude earthquake in western Afghanistan. Many buildings damaged, people trapped under the rubble. And South Africa mark a winning start in the ICC Cricket World Cup, boost a record total before thrashing Sri Lanka by 102 runs. Hosts India play Australia today. Targeting the festivities, Dasai, Tihar and Chhat, the government is operating fair price shops from today. Considering the interests of the consumers, the Ministry of Industries, Commerce and Supplies is to operate the fair price shops at several places for the festivities. Government entities, including the Salt Trading Corporation and the Dairy Development Corporation, are operating the fair price shops from today until the 19th of November. The fair price shops are being set up in 35 locations inside the Kathmandu Valley and 48 places of 42 districts outside of the valley. Food grains and all kinds of oil, among other items, will be available at the fair price shops. It has been learned that goats will also be available at lower price, while the DDC is to provide a discount of up to 20 rupees per kilogram in its products. Meanwhile, the Nepal Rashtra Bank is to exchange new notes for the festivals from the 16th of October. The consumers have begun flocking the market amid the nearing festivities, while traders have reported absence in business boom. Trade of garments, consumable goods and transportation increases during the festivities. New Road, Asan and Indrachok are considered the trade centers of Kathmandu Valley. Garments imported from foreign countries and those produced in Nepal are distributed across the country from these places. The flow of consumers in the market have significantly increased amid the nearing festivities. But the businesses have continued to be affected since the coronavirus pandemic began. A number of businesses have already collapsed within a year because of the economic crisis. The nearing festive season has raised hopes of traders regarding improvement in their businesses. However, they have complained that their expectations have not been met. Meanwhile, the government is to operate the fair price shops from today for the ease of the consumers. Nepali nationals affected by conflict between Israel and Palestine's Islamist group Hamas have appealed with the government for their rescue. Nepali nationals who are in Israel for their education and work have shared the impact of the conflict between the two sides. Many of them have said that they have been compelled to hide in bunkers and have appealed for the protection of their life. According to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, at least 9 Nepalis have been injured in the attack. In a statement, the ministry said a farm where 14 Nepalis were working came under the attack. 9 were reportedly injured. 2 of them are in a critical condition. Meanwhile, issuing a notice, the ministry has termed the incident a terrorist attack, which it condemned. The Nepali embassy in Israel has said that it is in constant communication with Nepalis in the areas attacked and that it was in contact and coordination with the Israeli authorities for the safety, security and rescue of the Nepalis as well as medical treatment of those injured. Nepal's ambassador to Israel, Kanta Rizal, has said that there were 17 Nepali nationals in the area now under the control of the attackers. The non-resident Nepali Association in Israel has also urged the Nepali nationals facing difficulties to come in contact with the embassy and the association. The embassy has also urged the Nepali nationals in Israel to remain cautious and follow the safety measures advised by the authorities. The fire that had broken out suddenly at a big mart in Ramanandan Chowk of Janakpur at around 11 p.m. last night has been brought under control this morning. The fire had been extinguished with the help of brigades of Janakpur sub-metropolis and surrounding areas, police and the local residents. The fire has destroyed all the goods at the mart. The operator of the mart, Raya, said that he found out about the incident last night. Raya has estimated the loss of goods worth 4.5 million rupees, while a total loss of 100 million rupees, including structural damage, has been identified. Raya and his wife had escaped and saved their lives. A time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
The question is, why have political parties failed to reach a consensus regarding the bill related to transitional justice? Your options are A. Fear of being held accountable, B. Ploy to dilly-dally, and C. Complex procedure. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed mighty vengeance on Palestinian militants for what he called a Black Day. At least 250 people are reported killed and 1,590 wounded in Israel after the Palestinian militant group Hamas launched its biggest attack in years. Dozens of gunmen from Gaza infiltrated southern Israeli communities after dawn under the cover of heavy rocket fire. They have taken both Israeli soldiers and civilians hostage, and some have been brought back to Gaza. Israel has responded with a wave of airstrikes on Gaza that have killed 233 people and wounded at least 1,600. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel was at war and vowed that Hamas, which rules Gaza, would pay an unprecedented price. The Israeli military has mobilized tens of thousands of reservists and is now expected to launch a ground operation in Gaza. Meanwhile, fighting is continuing with militants who still hold pockets of southern Israel. It is believed that dozens of gunmen crossed into Israeli territory in a number of different locations. Some cut through the perimeter fence from Gaza and others entered by sea. How they managed to penetrate one of the most heavily fortified borders in the world is unclear. Now, 7 men suspected of involvement in the murder in August of Ecuador's anti-corruption presidential candidate Fernando Villavicencio were killed in prison on Friday, the prison's agency has said, barely a week before a crucial runoff election. 6 of the victims were killed at the Litoral Penitentiary in Guayaquil on Friday, and another was killed in a Quito prison on Saturday. Ecuadorian President Guillermo Lasso announced on Saturday the removal of 2 officials, the prison's director and the head of the police investigations unit. Ecuador's Attorney General's office also launched an investigation into the country's prisons agency because the agency SNAI did not carry out a pending order to transfer for security reasons the 6 inmates killed at the Litoral Penitentiary on Friday. Villavicencio, a prominent journalist who exposed corruption and organized crime, was gunned down while leaving a campaign event in August. More than 20,000 families have been affected by flash floods in the northeastern Indian state of Sikkim, Chief Minister Prem Singh Tamang said on Saturday, with over 3,800 families seeking shelter in relief camps. At least 44 people were killed after a glacial lake burst its banks and triggered flash floods earlier this week. The Lonak Lake in mountainous Sikkim overflowed on Wednesday after a cloudburst triggered torrential rains and an apparent avalanche causing major flooding in the Teesta River. Parts of the state are also experiencing fuel shortages, with supplies unable to reach the disaster-hit areas after the floods washed away roads and bridges. Sikkim, a small Buddhist state wedged between Nepal and Bhutan in China, is home to about 650,000 people. And now, before we wrap up, here's a look into the top stories one more time. Fair price shops to be operated from today for the Dasai festival. Nepal Rashtra Bank to distribute new notes from the 16th of October. Nepali nationals injured in the conflict between Israel and Palestine's Islamist Hamas group appeal for safety. Hundreds, including around a dozen Nepali injured, at least 300 dead. Hundreds were dead and at least 1,000 injured in a 6.3 magnitude earthquake in western Afghanistan. Many buildings damaged, people trapped under the rubble. And South Africa mark a winning start in the ICC Cricket World Cup. Post a record total before thrashing Sri Lanka by 102 runs. Hosts India play Australia today. That is all for the moment. Our next news bulletin airs at 6 p.m. Thank you for staying with us. Have a beautiful day ahead.